Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Rachel Stuart from the Mindset Lab. How are you doing, Rachel?
I am good. Thank you very much, Mike.
Good stuff. Looking forward to the interview. So if you could start us off and tell us a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
So, my name is Rachel Stewart. I am a Cambridge University qualified academic coach, and I work with GCSE and A Level students to help them build the skill, will, and mindset to do the best they possibly can in their exams.
Awesome. How long have you been doing that for? How far back does that go?
I've been doing that since 2019. So, yeah, I've been working with schools and with families because although I support students, I also absolutely support the family as well. So, yeah, I've been doing that for 4 years.
Brilliant. So in terms of your market and your sector and what you do, what is it that makes you stand out from the rest?
What I would say is normally when students are struggling or when their parents are finding that actually at home exams are causing tension, maybe anxiety with the students, or studying's turning into a little bit of argy bargy, or just as well that they just do not feel that their son or daughter is achieving their full potential in their exams, the most obvious place for parents to go is to a tutor. So the tutoring market is really well established in the UK. It's a massive market. Just at GCSE and A level, it's estimated that that's worth about £2 billion. So it's huge.
Wow. Yeah.
And about 1 in 4 GCSE and A level students receive tutoring at some point during that 2 year either GCSE or A
Yeah.
level exam. So that's about 500,000 students. So it's massive. It's incredibly diverse and segmented, and there are lots and lots of different tutors from school leavers to university students to ex-teachers to current teachers, etc. So that's very much an established market. That's where parents think about. That's where they naturally think to go. Where and by the way, I'm very supportive of tutoring. I've got a son and daughter who both have a tutor, and I think tutors can work really, really well to supplement
Yeah.
education. However, it solves a very different problem to the problem that I see, which I think is largely unaddressed. So the problem I solve is I work with students where so I don't work on any subject specific content. So if you want to understand the ins and outs of the Krebs cycle or the circle theorem for maths, you should definitely get a tutor for that.
Yeah.
What I work with students on is where they lack the skills. So they just don't know how to study. So they don't have a study plan. They maybe go home at night. They've got 10 GCSE subjects. They don't even know where to start. So where they lack the skills, a big one for me is the will element. So they just don't have the motivation. I see that a lot. I'd say about 80% of the students I work with struggle with motivation. And then the last one is belief and confidence. So lots of students just really don't have lost confidence in themselves or their abilities. And without that, it's very difficult to make progress because our belief about ourselves and what's possible for us really underpins our motivation and our resilience. So if we don't have that, then it's really, really difficult. So what I do is really very different from tutoring, and it's more, I wouldn't say it's life skills because it's very academic focused. About half the stuff I do is very schools focused, but then the other half is more just coaching and personal development. So yeah, quite different from a tutor.
Awesome. I love the sound of that. It might have helped me when I was doing my maths GCSEs and stuff like that. But yeah, really good. Thank you for sharing that. So in terms of your business journey to date and 2019 to this point, what's it been like? How was the pandemic for you? I guess if you were just starting before that.
Yeah, is it helpful if I set the context as to how I
Sure.
started the business?
However, yeah,
Yeah, because I think that so I'm not from a teaching background or from an educational background, and I think that's a real point of difference as well. So my if I go right back to sort of what made me passionate about this and why I started the business. So I am the youngest of four, come from a working class family. I was the first person in my family to go to university, and really education was is one of my key passions, which is why I do this, because education really allowed me to have a very different life and have very different financial outcomes because it gave me that leg up. It gave me opportunities and opened doors for me that wouldn't have been available otherwise. So that's kind of the educational bit. I then went on, so I did well at school. So I got straight A's. In Scotland, you can't get A stars. And I've got a first class degree in chemical engineering. And then I went on and spent most of my career in financial services. I don't say that to impress you, but just rather to express to you that I've got sort of lived experience of doing what I do and the fact I did well and it helped me. And then I went on and I worked in financial services for a long, long time, for 13 years. But when I got my first management job, which is nearly 15 years ago, Lloyd sent me, or HBOS as it was then, sent me on a coaching course. And I fell in love with coaching. I loved, as I'm sure you do, Mike, being a coach as well. I loved the power of asking people questions and just helping them to solve their own problems and raise their awareness to things that were going on for them. And I loved the whole idea that we have limiting beliefs and our beliefs about ourselves can affect our outcomes, and that sometimes subconsciously we're creating things for ourselves. So I had children, went part time, and then really just decided I wanted to do something that was more purposeful and that gave back and that made a bigger contribution. And I was thinking about what I would want to do. I knew I wanted to do something with coaching. And then I thought, actually, why don't we bring a lot of the skills that we get taught in business about things like goal setting and planning and all of those sort of
Yeah.
personal development skills, and why don't we bring them to students at a much younger age? And I think if they had them, not only would they be able to do better academically, but actually they could set themselves up and do better in life in general. So that was what got me to start the business. And then I started it in 2019, and I had a chat before I'd even really started it with the very first customer I had, which was Harrogate Ladies College in Harrogate. And I went to have a chat with them, talk to them about the program I was developing, and they were so keen to start. And they were the first school that I worked with, and the sort of first contract I got. And then since then, I've gone on to work with a number of schools, but really the work that I am most passionate about and what allows me to help the most families is that I work online with students in groups now, and that's really the mainstay of the work that I do. So yeah, a very long answer to your question, but that's kind of what got me
Lots
to
of
it in
context there.
2019. Yeah, and how
Yeah.
it kind of developed.
Yeah. So if you could put it into one word or one or two words, what that journey has been like to date, how would you describe it? As a business, I guess, really, from getting it off the ground through to where you are now.
So the words that are coming to mind for me would be fulfilling and a kind of quite a basic word, hard.
Very good. Some people describe roller coasters, so it comes up quite a lot. So I like that, the contrast between the two. But would it be fulfilling if it wasn't hard? There we go. Anyway, that's a question for another day. But I love the reason that you've started it. You've obviously got a huge passion for it. So again, it's another great share on that. Thank you. So in terms of the future of what that holds, are you working alone? Have you got a team? What does the future sort of look like? What are the challenges that you've got?
Yeah, so going back to that word hard, working with schools and working with students isn't hard. I love that. And I find that really easy. And when I don't mean that to sound, I don't know, boastful or something like
I know
that.
what you mean.
But I find that part of the job really enjoyable, and that's why I started it, and that's the reason I'm doing it. So I love that, and I love the satisfaction and everything that you get from doing that. What is hard is that as a business owner, especially from a corporate background where everyone has a very niche role in a big corporate and you all have your own little corridor of work that you do and a ribbon wrapped around it, then when you work for yourself, you've got to wear I'm sure you hear this every day, Mike, but you wear every hat. You are head of
Yes.
HR, you're head of procurement, you're head of accounts, and all the things. And I think that's been the hard bit for me is the complexity of it. And yeah, so I think that's probably in answer to your question. I think you said sort of, did you say what was next? And you were asking about the team as well, weren't
Yeah,
you?
kind of what does the future look like, and what do you see the challenges are in terms of, it may be like growth, and for example, that's part of wearing all those hats, and how do you grow, and do you have a team, and what does it kind of the landscape ahead look like for you, really?
Yeah, great question. So I do have a small team at the moment. So I have a student who helps me with social media, a university student, and then I've also got some student mentors. So the student mentors, I'm just growing that team at the moment. So I have two, and I'm just about to move to six for the next academic year. So they're students that have come through my program that have completely transformed their results, and they're now joining me as paid mentors to then help other students as a peer rather than from as a coach that has done this
Okay.
a long time ago. So
Yeah.
that's really, really exciting and something that students find helpful, and I love, because then I'm also not on my own and I've got someone else to bounce ideas off and to grow with me. So that's the immediate sort of definite team growth. And then it's really just thinking about what do I need next. And I 100% think to grow a business, you become self constrained if you're the only person doing it. You have
Yeah.
to take on someone else. And I guess the challenge that I'm sure you hear is who and how. And then there's also, there's always that nervousness about them being the right person. I had a really interesting conversation actually with someone recently who may join me as my second coach, but it's just really trying to define what that looks like, because obviously I built the program and I know it inside out, and it's then thinking of a meaningful way that I'm to take that person on. So yeah, I think growing the team is definitely part of it, and then really growing the marketing and the automation and the lead generation and the fulfillment service, that's another key part of it. So something that I'm working on at the moment is how do I automate or automate mode of my marketing,
Yeah.
and really do that in an efficient and scalable way. And then I suppose the last part of it would be moving to a self-paced or recorded program so that I could actually lower my price point, serve more students, and that it doesn't require, there's an offering that meets a different market. So I'd
Yeah.
still have the face-to-face offering, the online, but the live offering, but I'd also have another offering that perhaps is more of an entry level offering that would make it more accessible to people. That's something else that I am exploring, and then as partnerships associated with that.
Awesome. Makes sense. Replicating you without you having to be there.
Definitely.
So, in terms of all of that, then, and moving on to the next question, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you have learned so far along the way of your business journey?
I think, I guess it probably links all these things. What probably my biggest lesson is that you need to be great at marketing. It is not enough just to have a good product. So I believed at the beginning that if I had a good product, that just naturally that would be it. People would just talk about it and it would just grow and it would just become this organically growing thing. Um, if you read any business book by anyone, even if it's, by a founder of huge companies like Apple and Nike, everyone will tell you marketing is absolutely critical. And I think it took me too long in hindsight to realize that. So my biggest lesson would be work on marketing as much. Once you've developed the product and you've got to like MVP or this minimum viable product, then you need to work on marketing. Whereas I spent quite a long time developing and iterating my product over and over again to get it to a point that I was, it was like I thought was great and it was definitely working brilliantly. And then I started on marketing, and I think in hindsight I could have developed and iterated the product quicker and grown the business quicker if I'd done it a bit differently.
Another good share. Thank you very much. So, in terms of offering advice, say if you went back in time and met you at 18, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give yourself back then?
I think it would be, start your own business earlier. And I don't know whether I truly mean that or not. I'll tell you why I say that, and then I'll tell you maybe a contrast as to why that might not have been the right thing for me, just in case anyone
Yeah.
is listening and sort of thinking about this. The reason I think it's good to start your own business earlier is because most people have a graveyard of failures behind them. And I think when you are young and you're, say, living at home still with your parents and you don't really have any outgoings, you've got no children, no mortgage, and all of that, it would just, you can just have more fun with it, I think. And learn fast, as they say in Facebook, isn't it? Move fast and break things. And I think you can just be a bit more free and easy. I think when you're older and you have commitments and family and mortgage and all of that, I think there's a lot more pressure on the business being successful. So I think that's one reason why you should start earlier. I think it just gives you more time to iterate and fail and learn and get better, and probably in the end have a bigger business because you've got more time for it to compound. I suppose the slight contrast to that would be I am a bit of a workaholic and I take my work really seriously. And I guess what being in a corporate job allowed me was paid very, good maternity leave benefits, and to have a long time off with my children and to not worry about work whatsoever and just completely focus on them. And I guess the downside from knowing some people that have had children and they've run their own business, I think it's very difficult. I took 15 months off with my youngest daughter, and that's such important time, and I think it would be really difficult to truly take a 15-month extended break if you work for yourself. So I've kind of contradicted my own advice. I don't know if that's helpful or not, or whether I've kind of U-turned on it, but yeah, I guess.
Well, perhaps go out and experience the world of work, and then, but if you can start earlier, start earlier, because that'll be to your advantage as well. I think the summary of it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you've summarised that well.
There we go. So, in terms of inspiration for what you do, I could hazard a guess, because we've kind of reflected a lot on the reasons why you started your business. But yeah, again, just to reflect on the inspiration. So it could be friends, family, the people that you work with, the students, that kind of thing. What do you use for that? I suppose on a day-to-day basis.
I think now a few different things inspire me. One of the things that inspires me is actually the students I work with. So I love seeing students change how they feel about themselves. And I think that's at the core of all success. And I don't know if you'd agree with me, Mike, when you're thinking about working with business owners. But I feel that self belief and confidence is really, for me, the foundation. Everything else is built on that. You can build the skills and the other things that you need on top, but you need to start with that. And that needs to be there to always have your sort of house built on a firm foundation. And of course, it ebbs and flows. But I think that's what's really inspiring, is when you see a student who feels differently about themselves and then uses that to really do very differently in their exam grades. And then for me, what's most fulfilling on that, or most inspiring, is then seeing them have a different life trajectory as a result of that. And when I say that, that's not because I believe you need great GCSE and A level results to be successful or happy in life, because I don't think you do at all. And I'm sure you've met business owners who are self-made, who might have left school, or I certainly am good friends with someone who sold his business for millions, and he didn't go to university or anything like that. However, what I always say to my students is, of course, that's possible. But when you look on aggregate at the statistics, you are more likely to be successful if you've got a good education behind you. And I wish I'd done worse at school has been said by no one ever. So I think it's just a smart play, right? It helps to stack the deck in your favour. So I'm digressing, but in answer to your question, the students that I work with inspire me. My children inspire me. I've got two children who unfortunately have genetic hearing loss. So both my son and my daughter both wear hearing aids. So my son is severely deaf, my daughter's moderately severely deaf. And they both inspire me all the time by what they're able to achieve genuinely. So that would be something else. And I think the third thing I'd say is just stories that I hear and things I read about. I think when you look for it, there are amazing people doing amazing things against all types of adversity out there. And I find those types of things, those types of films, those types of stories are things that I sort of really gravitate to. So I don't know if any of that resonates with you at all, Mike.
Definitely, a number of things there. You provided a lot of inspiration for thought, but stuff that resonates as well. Yeah, with me personally, and yeah, looking at situations people are given, and they still find ways to make the best of what they've got, and that's inspiring. And whether you view that through meeting people like you, or whether it's on a film or it's on a podcast or anything like that. I think there's inspiration around everywhere should you choose to look for it or be inspired by it. So yeah, great share. Thank you. So lastly, in terms of latest news around the Mindset Lab or any information you'd like to share, feel free. Perhaps even if it's just the website where we can go to find out some more information if we'd like to.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of different places. So at the moment, I am just working on my new group program for September. So I will be taking on a small number of students in September for a new academic group program where I'm going to support them. So it's GCSE and A Level years. So really this is targeting for September's program, really year 10 to 13, but probably more like years 11 to 13. So it's a little bit early for the year 10. So we're just starting possibly in September. So yes, I would say they can look at the Mindset Lab website. You can also email me, rachel@themindsetlab.co.uk. But probably then or follow me on LinkedIn. I do quite a lot, or at Instagram on @themindsetlab. So a few different ways to get in touch. I do run regularly free webinars where I share all the best tips and tricks that I have accumulated over the last 4 years. So yes, if anyone would like to join for one of them, then definitely follow me on socials, DM me, drop me an email, and I would love to invite you to the next webinar if you're interested in this sort of thing and you would be interested to sort of just find out for free a little bit more about what I've learned from taking hundreds of students through this program.
Awesome, Rachel. Thank you very much. That's been brilliant. I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us, and I wish you all the best for the future of the business.
Fantastic, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.